So we have seen this transition, state transition technique. Now we will go through this cost-effective diagram, decision table, and use case techniques, which also comes under black box techniques. So first we will see the cost effect graph and decision table. Then we'll go to use case testing. So prepared a small PPT. So first we will see the decision table, because this decision table and cost effective graph are the almost of the same concept. Like one is in the table format, one will be in the graph format, but the type of testing or the how the testing will be carried out with both these techniques are of almost same. So first we will see the decision table so that it will be easy to understand the cost effective graph. So what is decision table testing? So this point we will see first. A decision table is a tabular representation of input versus. So first we will see what is a decision table testing. So decision table testing, this line we will go through first. A decision table is a tabular representation of input versus the test cases or test conditions. So these both decision table and cost effect diagram or cost effect graph, both is related to the input what we give for testing and what will be the test cases. It is, you should observe very carefully, it is not about the expected result or the result of the application. This decision table and this cause effect are both is like input versus what are all the test cases or what are all the test conditions. So we will see an example. Before this, we will see this point. Decision table testing is a software testing technique used to test system behavior of different input conditions. So how it is like we give a different input conditions and how the system behaves for the different input conditions. This is what decision table testing. So here, that is what we are doing in all the testing, like we are giving the input and we are seeing the how the application is going to work for that input. This is what all the testing is. But the difference in decision table is, so this is a systematic approach where the different input conditions and their system behavior output, that is your input and the output, are captured in a tabular form. So what we are giving as the input in the application and what output comes out of the application is captured in a tabular form way. So that is why it is also called as a cause effect table. See, what we have said is like the other topic what we are supposed to cover is cause effect graph. This is cause effect table. It is this decision table also will be called as cause effect table. So now you can see the difference, like what is this is cause effect table, that is cause effect graph. So that will be represented in a diagrammatic way, this will be represented in a table way, where the cause and effects are captured for better test coverage. So in simple words, what is this decision table is and why decision table is, like you have an application where you need a lot of input data. So we will be better understanding when we are seeing the example. So yeah, uh, easy way of saying this is like you have a application where there are lot of input data. So for each input data, writing a different test cases will become very difficult. So this decision table and the clarity will be less. For we will see the example in the next slide. So different test cases for different input data will grow the test cases. The test cases also becomes large and it reduces the clarity of the test cases as well. So they make it this test cases. Decision table is nothing like the input data is different input data. We make a test case a table out of which we can call as a tabular test case. If to understand very well, like a tabular test case, they make it as a tabular test case, or they with the different inputs, they make a table to have a better clarity of the test data and what is the output result. So we'll better understand when you are seeing the example. So we will create a decision table for the login screen, for example. The condition is very simple. If the user gives correct username and password, the user will be redirected to the home page. If the input is wrong, error message will be displayed. So this is our test case now. Like it is a simple login screen. So if you give the correct username and correct password and click on login button, it should go to the home screen. If you give a wrong password or wrong username or both wrong, it should display an error message. This is our simple test case. So email will be your username, password will be a password and login button. So this is how a decision table will look like. So how what we are representing here, I'll go to the without slide so that I can show you. So what is the input here? Username. So username is true or false. So what is true or false? It is a correct username. It should be true. If it is a correct, if it is a wrong username, it should be false. So T is, you can see the legends here. T is correct username and or password. F is wrong username or password. E is error message displayed, and H is home screen displayed. So correct use, if it is a T, the output will be E. If it is F, the output will be, if it is a T, the output will be H. If it is F, the output will be E. So here you can specify the rules. So rule number 1, username is F. So what is that? Wrong username or password. So if you see the output here, so you are giving a wrong username, and again password you are giving F, again it is a wrong password. So the output should be E. Error message is displayed. So rule number 2, you are giving the correct username, but you are giving a wrong password, which is F, and your output should be E. Home screen should not be displayed. So again rule number 3 is you are giving a wrong username, but you are giving a correct password. The output should be again error message is displayed. Rule number 4, you are giving both username and password correct. So the answer will be home screen will be displayed. So what is the use of this decision table? So if you are going to write a traditional way of test case like in an Excel. So if you are doing a traditional way of writing test case for this each username and password, you have to write a test case. See, for example, a invalid username and invalid password, and what is output? It has to be written as one test case. Then a correct username, wrong password. This has to be written as one test case. Then wrong username, correct password. This has to be written as one test case. So there will be 4 different test cases or more. So here it is just a username and password example we have taken. So if it is a bit complicated screen where there are some 4 5 validations, like there are 4 5 text boxes, and there are 4 5 validations like list box, etc. So in that case, the test cases will grow. There will be a large number of test cases we should write. So there are only two text boxes in this particular scenario. So if there are 4, then for 2 we have written 4 test cases. So if it is 4, you have to write 8 test cases. So if it is 8, again you have to write 16 test cases. So and if the test cases number is growing, for example, if you take this small example, username password, if you are writing a test case, it will be like login screen. No, it should be written in Excel. I'm just showing it as an example. Login screen. verify whether your home page is sorry, error message is displayed when login, invalid username and valid password is given. Then we have to give that example input invalid username. You will give any invalid username, password. You will give any valid password. So result, or you can say output, error message is displayed, result, pass. So write this. You have to go on writing test cases with different scenarios. So here we will be writing 4 scenarios. So this is a simple test case, username, password. As I said, if your test case is more, like there are more validations in a particular page, if there are validations for like 4 or 6 screens, the test cases will grow. And the main thing which you will be observing is the clarity will be very less. Like you will be messing around with the test cases. Like you will miss out what is a second test case, what is a third test case. So if you see here, you can see it is the clarity is very good. Like ft, you can easily give the legends on seeing that. If it is a very big input conditions, the clarity of decision table will be very simple compared to the normal test case. So if you see here itself, it is looking very nice. So interpretation, I think I have already said you the interpretation using the decision table itself. To be more interpretation in the text format, you can see this. So how it is case 1, username and password both were wrong. The user is shown an error message. Yes, FFFE. Username was correct, password was wrong. The user is shown an error message. I have explained you in rule number 2, username is right, password is wrong, error message is displayed. So username was wrong, but password was correct in the third case. The user will be shown error message. Then case 4, username and password both were right, and the user should be navigated to the home page. So while converting this test case, we can create 2 scenarios. One is enter correct username and correct password and click on login. The expected result should be home page. And others all scenarios are, so there are here that you should understand the difference between a scenario and a test case. A scenario is the whole scenario. Test case is individual breaking up of the scenarios or the test cases. Like one scenario can have multiple test cases, okay, and multiple test case combination is one scenario. So very simple is one scenario can have multiple test cases. So scenario is a whole. Like here there are 2 scenarios. One is the correct username and password. If you give, it should go to home page. If you give wrong username or wrong password, it should throw an error message. So there are 2 scenarios. So that is what it is being said here. We can create 2 scenarios. One is enter correct username and correct password, click login, and expected result should be home page. The other one is other and one from the below scenario. So this second scenario, if you note here, it can have 4 test cases. I mean 3 test cases plus etc etc. One is wrong username, one is and wrong password, one is correct username and wrong password, one is wrong username and correct password. So how this is called? So there is a concept in testing, like one is negative testing, one is positive testing. So this is called positive testing or positive scenario, which is when you are entering correct username and correct password, it should go to home page. And the second one is negative testing or negative scenario, which is when you are giving a wrong username or wrong password, it should throw an error message. So here to note there are two important points in this. One is scenario is different from test case. Yeah, one scenario can have many test cases or one test case also. There can be only one test case for one scenario, or there can be many test cases for a scenario. So scenario is different from test case. So you can hear when you are working in a company something called test scenario and test case. So test scenario is nothing like it is a whole functionality of a particular page. Test case is something like split of that functionality into different use cases. So here we can see like there are two scenarios, and first scenario has only one test cases as I have mentioned. Second scenario is having three test cases. Sorry. So this is decision table. So this is how we draw the decision table. So as I said, it looks very clear and the input parameters are huge. Then they go for decision table, which will give you a good clarity, as you can see here. Next, what we have to say is cause effect graph. So if you have seen in decision table, I have that there is a line called, this is why it is also called a cause effect table. So this is cause effect table. Now you can relate this with cause effect graph. So it is nothing like there in decision table, we will represent the different inputs or different scenarios which is having a bunch of input as a table format. Here we will give it as a graph format. That is the only difference between a decision table and cause effect graph. In cause effect graph, we give it as a graphical interface. So again, the cause effect graph is a black box testing technique that graphically illustrates the relation between a given outcome, that is the expected result, and all the factors that influence the outcome. So what is that? Input. Nothing. It is a technique that graphically illustrates the relation between a input and the output. So that is what it has been explained in a different way. A relationship between a given outcome and all the factors. So here also, if you see, is a systematic approach where the different input combinations and their corresponding output. So it is almost the same. So and it when this word is very important, it is given outcome and all the factors, even the background, even the pixels, all the factors which will influence outcome, we have to take care in the cause effect diagram. So it is also known as Ishikawa diagram because it was invented by Ishikawa, and they call it as fishbone diagram as well because it looks like a fishbone, which I will show you in the coming slide. So you can see here that it looks like a fishbone diagram. So here you can see like cause 1, cause 2, cause 3. There are 4 causes. It can be different causes, like as we have seen in that username and password example. One is wrong username and wrong password. One is wrong username and correct password. Correct username, wrong password. We can say that scenario itself. And you can take other causes also, like the environment or the system lag, or what to say, there is a downtime in the application, there is a downtime in the company. So these all causes. Because of all causes, what is the effect in the application or the output, how it is affecting the application, what is this effect. So cause, effect, what all the causes should be taken care in this, and what is the effect, that is a cause effect diagram. So cause effect diagram. So why this cause effect diagram? To represent in a simplified way. That is the best answer. To represent in a simplified way so that the user can understand immediately what is the, why there is a this kind of effect, or why the application is behaving in this way, because of what reasons. That if you go on explaining in a document like why the application behaves, you gave invalid username and password, application behaved like this, you have this your system is application is down, so the application behaved this way. These kind of